How did Portugal become a country? Battle of Ourique, 1139 AD. This wasn't just a battle, it was the birth of a nation. In 1139 AD, on the dry, sun-scorched plains of southern Portugal, a relatively unknown noble named Afonso Henriques faced off against the armies of the Almoravid Caliphate. Outnumbered and outmatched, what followed would shock the medieval world. The Battle of Ourique became the turning point that transformed a struggling frontier county into an independent kingdom. But how did this moment come to define a nation? And why do modern historians still debate what truly happened on that fateful day? The road to Ourique. To understand the Battle of Ourique, we need to go back to the political chaos of the 11th and 12th centuries in the Iberian Peninsula. At the time, the region was not yet Spain and Portugal as we know them today. Instead, it was a mosaic of Christian and Muslim territories constantly at war with each other. After the fall of the Caliphate of Córdoba in 1031, the once unified Muslim rule of Al-Andalus fragmented into smaller Taifa kingdoms. This decentralization weakened Islamic control and created an opportunity for Christian kingdoms in the north, such as Leon, Castile, Navarre, and Aragon, to push southward. This centuries-long process became known as the Reconquista. Portugal, at this point, did not yet exist as an independent kingdom. It was a county, the County of Portugal, established in the late 11th century as a vassal of the Kingdom of Leon. It was granted to Henry of Burgundy, a French noble, as a reward for his military service in aiding Leon against the Moors. Henry married Teresa of Leon, the illegitimate daughter of King Alfonso VI of Leon. Their son, Afonso Henriques, would become the key figure in Portuguese history. Henry died in 1112, and Teresa ruled as regent for their young son. But tensions between Teresa and the powerful northern nobility led to unrest. Complicating matters further, Teresa aligned herself with Galician nobles and possibly considered integrating Portugal back into Leon. This sparked resentment among the Portuguese elite. In 1128, Afonso Henriques, now in his late teens, launched a rebellion against his own mother. At the Battle of Almoravid, he defeated Teresa's forces and assumed de facto control of the county of Portugal. Though still technically a vassal of Leon, Afonso began to act independently, building alliances, minting coins, and raising armies. The southern frontier remained perilous. The Almoravid dynasty, a North African Berber Muslim power, had swept into Iberia in the late 11th century to restore Islamic dominance. They were well organized, devout, and militarily disciplined. Their presence posed a serious threat to any Christian expansion. By 1139, Afonso had turned his attention to this southern border, seeking not only territory but also legitimacy. If he could achieve a decisive victory against the Muslims, he might claim more than just land. He might claim kingship. Battle of Ourique, 1139 AD. The precise location of the Battle of Ourique is debated. Some believe it occurred near modern-day Castro Verde, others argue for nearby Ourique itself in the Alentejo region. Either way, it was deep in what was then considered enemy territory. Historical records are vague and often contradictory, but most accounts agree. Afonso Henriques led a bold raid deep into Muslim lands, possibly to provoke or draw out a confrontation. He was met by a large force under the command of a Muslim general, possibly an emir, though his exact identity is unclear. According to Christian chronicles, particularly the later Chronica Gothrum, Afonso faced 5 Muslim kings, symbolic language likely referring to the 5 Taifa leaders or regional commanders who supported the Almoravid army. Estimates of troop numbers vary wildly. Some Christian sources claim Afonso had as few as 7,000 men while the Muslim force numbered over 30,000. These figures are likely exaggerated, but the consensus is that Afonso's forces were significantly outnumbered. So how did he win? The battle reportedly took place on July 25, 1139. Afonso, leading a force of cavalry and foot soldiers, arranged his men in a defensive formation, possibly utilizing natural terrain for protection. His knights, well-trained in Iberian-style heavy cavalry warfare, may have launched disciplined charges at key moments. What followed was a brutal clash of steel and will. Despite numerical inferiority, Afonso's forces leveraged their mobility and familiarity with the terrain. The Almoravids may have been caught off guard, overextended, or suffered from poor coordination among their regional leaders. Contemporary sources praise Afonso's leadership and piety. Later legends claim he received a vision of Christ before the battle, a classic medieval motif used to sanctify victory. Whether myth or propaganda, it reflected the strong religious identity being forged in the new Portuguese identity. Key decisions and consequences. The immediate aftermath of the battle was profound. First, Afonso's men reportedly hailed him as King of Portugal on the battlefield itself. While this coronation lacks formal documentation, it has become a cornerstone of national myth. In medieval terms, being acclaimed king by your army held powerful symbolic legitimacy. Second, Afonso capitalized on the momentum. He pushed further into territory controlled by the Almoravids, capturing towns and fortresses. He began calling himself king by the grace of God, Rex Portugalensis, asserting full independence from Leon. However, recognition by other Christian monarchs, especially the Pope, was not immediate. It would take decades of diplomacy, war, and persistence before Portugal's sovereignty was formally acknowledged. But the Battle of Ourique gave Afonso something invaluable, a foundation myth. Like Romulus and Remus for Rome, or King Arthur for England, Portugal now had a moment to rally around. And it came not from royal inheritance or papal decree, but from the sword. Afonso spent the next years solidifying control, building administrative institutions, and founding monasteries. His reign lasted until 1185, and he is remembered as Afonso I, the founder of the Portuguese nation. Historical impact. The Battle of Ourique did not instantly create Portugal, but it was the spiritual and symbolic origin point. In 1143, Afonso signed the Treaty of Zamora with King Alfonso VII of Leon, who finally recognized Portuguese autonomy, though not full kingship. In 1179, the papal bull Manifestus Probatum, issued by Pope Alexander III, officially acknowledged Afonso as King of Portugal. This gave the kingdom religious and legal legitimacy in Christendom. The territorial gains continued. The Reconquista surged forward, and Portugal gradually extended southward toward Lisbon, which was captured in 1147 with the help of crusaders en route to the Holy Land. Portugal's establishment as an independent kingdom changed the balance of power in Iberia. While Castile and Aragon focused on unifying Spain, Portugal carved its own path, eventually leading to its golden age of exploration in the 15th and 16th centuries. But none of that would have been possible without the foundational identity forged at Ourique. The Battle of Ourique wasn't just a military victory, it was a declaration of independence, identity, and destiny. Afonso Henriques seized the moment, claimed kingship, and defied the regional powers to carve out what would become one of Europe's oldest nations. And while legends often embellish what happened that day, the impact is undeniable. Portugal was born not in royal courts or papal chambers, but on the battlefield. What can we learn? That legitimacy often comes from bold action. That nations are not only formed by treaties, but by the courage to defy the odds. If you found this story interesting, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into forgotten battles and historic turning points, and share your thoughts below. Do you think the Battle of Ourique was mythologized too much? And don't miss our next video. Battle of Altivest, 1632, Wallenstein's defeat in the 30 Years' War.